Hey guys, we're going to go ahead and go over the M2 bolt. Two things I want to address really quick. Make sure that this back cap here is screwed not really tight, but snug enough where it's not going to come loose during gameplay. I've seen several times during World Cup they couldn't get the bolt out because this cap came loose or unscrewed, and it would jam this screw against the frame of the M2. And you wouldn't be able to push the button. The next thing to look out for is make sure that this screw here is also snug so it doesn't come loose. The reason being is that when it sits, there's a small hole here that screw can get protrude out and it'll get stuck. The other thing is if you can't push the button down and get this bolt out, that screw fits straight through that hole. So all you have to do is just back it out completely and then you'll be able to pull the bolt out. Make sure you degas so the bolt doesn't come flying out and hit anyone. So let's get straight into the bolt. Several things I look for when someone hands me an M2 that's leaking from the bolt is when I have it aired up, we're going to go ahead and take my index finger and plug the bolt tip through the feed neck. And if I feel that I've sealed the air off and it's no longer leaking and I feel there's pressure being built up behind my finger, what it's going to be is number 6 top hat small internal 014 O-ring, which is going to be this blue O-ring here inside the back of this little can. All you have to do is simply replace that and your bolt should be 100% operational now. The next thing, with the same trick, if I was to plug it but I didn't seal the air and I was to just like push down and move it left to right and around and the leak got worse, it is going to be number 4, the cylinder internal 017 O-ring. In the inside of this cylinder here, this orange O-ring, you're just going to go ahead and replace that and it should seal the leak up. The other thing to note is that these bolts have a coat on them. It's blue. If this part here is too silver or all these scratches or gouges, that'll always cause a leak. It's going to be very hard to get rid of. In normal cases, if it's damaged too much, you're going to have to get a new bolt. The other thing, the reason why that is if dirt falls through your hopper, since this comes out and goes right where the feed neck is, if dirt gets trapped in here and on the lube, it's going to come back. And as soon as it catches on that O-ring, it's just going to go ahead and either scratch the bolt or scratch the O-ring to cause a leak. So that is one O-ring that I always have to change and check. Is this 017 O-ring, number 4, the cylinder, and number 6, the top hat, small 014, which is this blue O-ring here. You can also check this 5, which is the large top hat, 017, same size as this cylinder one. Normally that's not really an issue O-ring, but it is part of a dynamic O-ring and not a static. And the difference between the two is that it has the bolt moves across it. So it has something that's always causing friction on these O-rings. So they are going to need to be replaced sometime in their lifespan. The next part I do want to go over is in the back of the bolt. So say I've aired up my gun. It's not leaking out the front, it's leaking out the back. If it's leaking through this hole here, which is straight out the back of the M2, it's going to go ahead and be the number 3, which is the bolt stem, 011 orange O-rings. Go ahead and replace both. I know if you replace one, the other one's going to be bad as well, so just go ahead and replace both. And then quickly, with a Q-tip, go ahead and clean inside here. Just wipe it down. If you want, you could just go through this way, just wipe that down, try to get dirt out. Just keep this as clean as possible. The more dirt on there, the more it's going to scratch the O-rings or potentially the ano that's on these. That's pretty much what I do when I quickly want to get a gun fixed, is check those things for the bolt. So again, if it's leaking straight out the bolt tip here, if you seal it up and feel that there's pressure and you stop the leak, it's going to be number 6, this blue O-ring. Or if it doesn't and you move the O-ring or move the bolt around and the leak gets worse, it's going to be number 4, the 17. If you replace all the internal O-rings and it is still leaking slightly through the front of the bolt, I recommend replacing the outer sleeve 020 black O-rings here. These are not static, they're dynamic, but just coming in and out of an M2, well, it could cause a scratch or dirt that's on there. I would just lube it just a little bit. Doesn't need a whole lot of lube. It's not really going to be a friction, but it will help seal up some of the air. And so that's pretty much all I've ever done to maintain and keep a bolt going, and any problems I've come up with. Thank you for watching.